Hey everybody, it's Alfie, and today I am joined by the sister, and today we're going to be ranking Phase 1 of the MCU from the worst to the best. So let's get started. So, this is the first video in a little series I'm gonna do where I'm ranking every phase of the MCU, and at the end, where I've done all three videos for all three phases, I will be doing a full MCU ranking. Hopefully, Black Widow comes out, so I'll do it then, but if it gets delayed, I'll probably do it a bit earlier. So, we're gonna write down our ranking, and we'll be right back. Hey guys, we're back. We've done our ranking. I haven't seen hers. We've talked about it a little bit, but I might be shocked at some points in the video. So yeah, we've watched Phase 1. We finished Phase 1 yesterday, so we're gonna rank it, and then next week probably Phase 2 if we've finished watching it. So let's get into it. Okay, so we're good. We have 6 movies to rank for Phase 1. Personally, Phase 1 is a phase that I like a bit more than most people, just because they're the movies that came out when I was starting to get into the superhero stuff. Like, I grew up with a lot of these. Avengers was the first MCU movie I ever saw. It means a lot to me. First Avenger, I grew up with it. The first 2 Iron Man films, I watched them a lot. Thor as well, Incredible Hulk as well. I've grown up with all of these, so I have a bit of nostalgia for them. I don't know, have you grown up with any of these? No, not really. No. You watched mostly Phase 2, like Guardians of the Galaxy, and a lot of Phase 3, those newcomers, Phase 3. But I'm a big Phase 1 guy, so I say we just get into it. So, my number 6 is The Incredible Hulk. What's yours?
Yeah, Hulk.
Yeah, so The Incredible Hulk, personally, I don't hate it. I'm a defender of this film. I've always been a defender of this film. I think the action is really good, especially the third act, with a lot of comic accurate Hulk fight scenes, like him using the cars as gloves, and Hulk smash when he smashes the ground, or he does his thunderclap. It's very cool. I think Tim Roth as Abomination is really cool. Gets me very excited for She-Hulk, which he will be returning. So yeah, I think the cast is fine. Edward Norton, I'm not a big fan. I know some people like him more than Mark Ruffalo. Personally, I like Mark Ruffalo way more, but I still think this is a solid film. It is a bit boring at parts when there's no Hulk or no action, but I still enjoy it quite a bit. What's your take?
Well, I think the action is really good, but it's not, I don't feel like it really relates to the rest of the movies that much.
Yeah, that's a lot of people's problem with it.
There isn't much happening for most of the movies.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like this movie because the tone is pretty dark and it's not as funny, and they changed a lot of the actors, so it doesn't really fit in the grand scheme of things. But that's because it was their second film, so they were still trying to figure out how they were going to do it. But personally, I think it's enjoyable, but I get it. My score for it is like a 6.3, a solid okay score. What's your score?
Maybe a 6 out of 10.
We're pretty on track for now. I did not talk to her on this. She did not want to rewatch that movie. Coming in at number 5 for me is Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
Iron Man 2 as well. I know Iron Man 2 is a very hated film. A lot of people say it's the weakest MCU movie, but personally, I grew up watching this movie. We watched the Iron Man trilogy a lot as kids, and so I feel like maybe I have a bit of bias. There are way too many plot lines, and Whiplash is a very bad villain, very underdeveloped. But at the end of the day, I think it has some some fun storylines. Some of these storylines get lost in the mix of the MCU. Like, we totally forgotten about some of them. But it's a solid continuation of Tony's arc. I know a lot of people think he's a bit hateable in there, but I think he's pretty good. And Justin Hammer is awesome. And the action is pretty good in this one as well. You got the Monaco Grand Prix, where he fights Whiplash. That was an awesome scene. The third act, well, while Rhodey and Tony are fighting Whiplash, that one kind of sucks. But when they're fighting the drones, I thought that was really cool. What do you think about it?
Well, I don't think it's really bad, but it's not as good as the first one, and the villain isn't as good. Like, the beginning started off really great, but then it kind of got out of track, and there's like a lot happening in that movie.
Yeah, that's what I always say. The movie is great for like 45 minutes until Tony pisses in his suit.
Yeah.
Just like that.
That's where it starts going. It starts getting kind of bad. But that's still like almost half of the film. So I think, we can praise this film. For me, my score is a 6.5 out of 10. So it's between that okay and good tier for me. Where are you?
I have it about 7 out of 10.
Yeah, so that's a solid good. Next, number 4 for me is going to be Thor. What's yours?
Yeah, Thor.
Thor. Oh my god, we're getting all the same ones. This is not that interesting. A lot of people really hate Thor. I think it's a solid movie. Yes, we do go from Asgard, one of the coolest and most interesting places in the MCU, to New Mexico, which is one of the most boring places in the MCU. But I think the fish out of water stuff, like Another and I Need a Horse.
Another. I need a horse.
I think that stuff is really funny. It comes back and forth. Sometimes we just bring it into conversation. So I like it. Chris Hemsworth is good in the role. He hasn't come about yet. I think really the movie that Thor really got great for me and all of us is Thor Ragnarok and then Infinity War and that stuff. But he's still pretty good. I mean, the dyed eyebrows, that's weird, but it's an alright movie. The romance is fine. She really doesn't like her
in the second
in
one,
Thor the Dark World, but I think this is an enjoyable movie. It has some solid action. Loki is a villain with some solid motivations. So, while it's gone lower on most people's list because we've gone so many great films now, I still think this is a very, very good film. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like it because, like, compared to the second Thor, it's, like, kind of funny how when he goes to Earth and everything. And then, yeah, Loki's, like, a great villain in it, and it's kind of funny.
Yeah, it is a funny movie, because a lot of MCU movies have kind of fallen flat with their humor nowadays. Like, this has that early humor. But, a movie like Captain Marvel, I do think a lot of the jokes fall flat. You'll see where it ranks on my Phase 3, but it's not very high. Score. I give this one a solid 7 out of 10. A good movie.
Yeah, 7 out of 10.
Okay, now, at number 3, I'm gonna have Captain America, The First Avenger.
Yeah, Captain America.
This is not even that fun, we just have the same one. First Avenger is one I really, really enjoy, and I watched it a lot as a kid. This is like the Captain America movie I grew up with, so, I didn't see Winter Soldier. That was like one of the last MCU films I ever saw. And Civil War, we watched it a lot in the car, because we traveled a lot, and we had the DVD, so we watched it a lot. But this one was the one that, when it was on TV, we watched it a lot, and, we just rewatched it recently, and the family really liked it. How about you start on this one, so, I don't give you too many of my thoughts.
I mean, I think the story is really good, and there's, like, a good villain, and it stays kind of interesting the whole way. It's not, like, good at the beginning and falls boring at the end.
Yeah, for me, I love the first hour of the movie when it's, like, his origin story. He's that little kid who just wants to do good. And to see that progression until Endgame is really a treat. But at the end of the day, there are a bit too many montages. I know a lot of people have problems with that. But I love Steve Rogers in this. A lot of people started liking Captain America at the second movie, so I understand if you don't love this one. Personally, I really like it, but some of the visual effects don't quite hold up. But at the end of the day, I think it's a very good origin story. Red Skull, I do wish we got a bit more of him, but he is a very cool villain. And so, yeah, I think this is a good movie. It doesn't have amazing action, but it has a very good protagonist, and it's a very good origin story for this character that we've learned to love. I'm going to give the first Avenger an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I think it's a great film. And yeah, it's cool to go back to it as during World War II. It's the only period piece we've gotten, so it's cool. Okay, now coming in at number 2 for me. I think this might be our only different pick, but it might be the same. I have Iron Man.
I have Avengers.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, this is the one I thought was gonna go like this. Maybe Iron Man is a better made film than my number 1. I love this film, this style. Jon Favreau brought such a cool style to it, and Robert Downey Jr. was just born to play this role. I could never see anybody playing him. And it's so amazing to see, again, progression of a character up until Endgame. Tony is a bit selfish. He's still likable because, Robert just does a good job at being charismatic, even though he's a bit of a douche. But to see his progression from the selfish dude to the guy who made the ultimate sacrifice is definitely very cool. I think the cast all around is great. I think it's a good origin story. Very cool. I love when they're in the cave. That's probably my favorite part of the film. It's very cool. It has a lot of there's a lot of little details in this movie that you see come back in Endgame, like cheeseburgers and all that stuff. Yeah. I don't have this one so high because it's helped create this universe. I legitimately think this is a good film. It's not because it started this universe, it's just because it's a great film on its own. I do have some problems in the third act. I think, the villain with the same powers as the good guy, just fighting it out, isn't amazing. And I do think Ironmonger, the villain, is a bit rushed, but Jeff Bridges is so good in the role, so it doesn't even matter,
Hey, way to go, my boy.
What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think it has a really good origin story. But yeah, the villain gets defeated really easily in the end, so the third act isn't that interesting, but the origin story is really good.
So what would you give it?
I would give it a 9.5 out of 10.
I go a 9.1 out of 10, so it's not that far away. It's one of the top of the MCU for me. And for her, it's one that we've loved. Our dad really likes Iron Man, so it's always been one that we've really liked rewatching. And the soundtrack is really underrated. Like Back in Black and all the AC/DC stuff, it fits so well. Now, my number 1 is Avengers, and hers is Iron Man. But we're gonna talk about Avengers now because we've already covered Iron Man. Avengers might not be as well made of a movie as Iron Man. It feels a lot like, at some points, the visual effects and everything look a little bit like a TV movie. Like, I've noticed that because I've watched it so much. But I love this film. Here's the story why I love this film so much. As a kid, I would wake up every morning at 6 a.m. to watch the Earth's Mightiest Heroes, The Avengers. It was a cartoon, an Avengers cartoon, and it was cool. It was awesome, and it was my introduction to these characters. So one day, I'm bored at home, and I see that there's an Avengers live action film. So my mom puts it on for me, and I was 7, and you can imagine how mind-blowing it was to see my favorite characters, favorite superheroes team up on the big screen. It was awesome. I still, rewatching the movie to this day, I still, remember what I thought of it the first time I saw it. There's that one moment where Hulk tries to lift Thor's hammer, and I was like, oh my god, he can't do that, because I watched the show and he can't do that now. So it's those little moments. this is also the film I've seen the most in my life, I think. It's just the film. I've seen this movie like 25 times at least. I know it perfectly. So she doesn't have the nostalgia. That's why she probably has Iron Man above it. But personally, I love this film. I love the score. I love the dialogue. It's just a great film. It's not the most epic one now that we've gone Endgame and Infinity War, but it's the one that has that place in my heart that I will never forget it. It's definitely nostalgia, but, you know, I can't betray my boy, the Avengers. What do you think about it?
Well, I think it's a pretty good movie, except, like, it's also, like, not as, like, when you watch Endgame and Infinity War, it's, like, really small, like, the dangers compared to what's
Yeah,
happening.
when I think that, I usually think to myself, this has the original Avengers. So, you know, from the Avengers comics, you have 6 Avengers. In Endgame, you got like 50,000 Avengers. So I think it's cool to look back on this. And the third act is probably the best third act ever for me. But, you know, Endgame has a good third act too.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's, like, pretty funny and it has, like, good characters. The only thing is maybe Loki, his motivations aren't as good as, like, in Thor, the first Thor.
Yeah, that's what I thought before. Loki's amazing. He's probably my favorite MCU villain and one of my favorite MCU characters if you saw my book review on the Loki book. But I think it's understandable. You know, he was denied his right to rule because he was a frost giant and the second son. And so he never had a chance. So I think it's cool for him to seek the kingdom that he was promised. You know, he wanted to be king. So personally, like, I see what you mean, because, like, once I rewatched it, I was like, yeah, his motivations aren't as good, but, you know, after seeing it so many damn times, I can safely say that he's pretty good in this movie. But, anyway, what is your score?
Probably a 9 out of 10.
That's a solid score. I'm gonna go 10 out of 10. I just have to. It's not perfect, but to me, it's just so important. And it was the first MCU movie I ever saw, so that also helps. Thank you guys for watching. This was a very fun video. We had fun. She didn't talk a lot, but she's gonna work on that for the Phase 2 video, which hopefully will be coming next weekend. But thank you guys for watching. Tell me what you guys think of this MCU content in the comments below. What did you think of our rankings? Do you think Avengers is better, or do you think Iron Man is better? Tell us in the comments below. Tell me if you want to see her back on the show again. Do you like Phase 1, or do you hate it? I know it's not people's favorite, personally. Nostalgia. But thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And yeah, that's gonna be it for us today. We'll be back next week. And yeah, bye-bye.